All right. So now we're at part two. We're on the flip side of this conversation. So Sean started off really dark last episode, and then we ended up talking about death at the very end. So all around, pretty dark episode about conversations. Um, but here we want to talk about like how do you change that mindset amongst your account managers, your employees? How do you take yourself from this being taught your entire lives to talk to people, and how do you get to the point of, should I say, talking with people or extracting information from people? What is the phrase I'm looking for here, Sean? Like, what do we want people to do instead of talking at people?
Accomplish something besides having talked. Make a difference. Do something.
Push
Have
them down.
something. I'm sorry.
Push them down.
No. The goal is not to have expressed the words. The goal is to have accomplished something. So instead of just complimenting you, my goal is for you to feel good. Now I have to reach into what kind of compliment's going to accomplish that. Instead of delegating something to you, my goal is for you to be able to do it. So therefore, my assignment's going to be different. Instead of giving you feedback and saying, there, I've given you feedback, my goal is to help you do better next year. And so it's a twist, a slight twist. But let me just speak to the positivity of building this stuff and how it works with some really quick tips how to make it work. The more conscious people can become of their own communication processes, the more successful they will be in every aspect of life. There are many paths to this, including heart conversations. And it's interesting to use those words because a client of mine, an oil company in Portugal, is using heart-based communication as their focal point to improve communication throughout the organization, and they hired me to dovetail my stuff into theirs. Another friend of mine who does nonviolent communication talks about observation and emotion. Again, there are many paths to this. My stuff shows up with rigorous science and predictability because it always works in all languages. A simple example of how to make things better. Let's say I'm in the habit of working with numbers, and I ask you for your credit card or ask you for your phone number, some basic number. If I can just set you up here for a quick example, I'd like you to give me 4 numbers. Please, Adam, play along here. Say, Sean, I want you to repeat these 4 numbers, and then I'll repeat them back to you, and we'll see what that experience feels like. So give me 4 numbers and say, please repeat these back.
1, 2, 5, and 42.
1, 2, 5, and 42. We've all been trained to believe that that means the message got through. See, by becoming conscious, I want people to become aware that some of the things we've learned may not be true. So I want more critical thinking. We've all learned that. And that, in fact, is not true. It's one of the not truths in my world, because birds can do that in multiple languages perfectly. 10 species of birds can repeat back exactly what was spoken with no comprehension. So when I want to repeat numbers back, human beings can do one thing that birds can't do. Human beings can paraphrase or vary the pace a little bit. And when I do that, you're going to listen harder to make sure I got it. So give me 4 different numbers and I'll show you the difference.
5, 7, 9, and 13.
5, 7, 9, 13. I changed the pace and you listened harder. There's a greater likelihood that I'll remember that because I modified it a little bit of the processing. I didn't just repeat it back like a bird's short-term memory. I processed it. I paraphrased it. Now, I've been around a long time. I've had 3 people I bought things from on credit cards who changed the pattern, and I double-checked to make sure I read it right when they were doing it. It always works, but we believe a simple repeat back is all it takes, and that's just not true. Another thing people make mistakes at that's easy to fix is this effort being clear and rehearsing. I know what I want to say, and there I've said it. That means they've practiced saying what they want to say. They haven't practiced getting through to the other person. And so the variation of the same thought about repeating numbers, say, I'm not sure you listened to me, so please repeat it back exactly the way I said it. As long as we're exactly repeating back, we're still working with a bird brain. The truth for human communication that anybody can practice is, would you please repeat this back in your own words? Now I'll know if you've got it. Now I'll know. So I want people to be more engaging with each other and invite people to say it back in their words, not mine. And they will choose different words because those words have more meaning for them. So I'll say, I need this thing done by Friday. but I'm worried that you may have something come up. What does that mean to you? It means you want me to set aside this project to make sure I can get this to you by Thursday night. Yeah, that's what I mean. Thank you. So, but it was just a repeat back. I don't know that we've made connection yet. So there's this creative element of engaging people in the conversation and staying away from this repeat back myth because it doesn't work most of the time. That's one example. Starts with numbers, but it moves to content, gets people engaged more in a conversation, and it will solve so many problems wherever it's used.
Yeah, I think one of the worst things I hear, and I hope my kids are listening to this podcast, is that when they say, "Well, technically, what you said was," and
Yeah.
it's a little bit of a parenting wake up call, like, okay, I evidently did not communicate, or they're trying to get off a technicality, but I did not communicate the importance of this thing. And like, well, technically, like yesterday, technically the event was in the calendar. There were
Right.
no details, there was no communication plan. So my daughter wanted to go to this thing on Monday night for band. Great, no problem.
Great.
So Sunday night, my wife says, "Hey, you need to work out with dad and how you're going to get there, and like, how long you going to be
Yeah.
there? When do you need picked up?" And I heard this conversation down in the kitchen, and so I'm upstairs folding clothes.
Beautiful.
Because I got 4 kids, so I got a billion clothes to fold,
Oh, yeah.
and I'm sitting there and folding. I'm waiting for her to come and ask. She never does. I'm like sitting there going, "Huh." So then the next day, per usual teenage fashion, I get a message like just about an hour before they need to go. "Hey, I need a ride, or I'm going to redo this. I'm doing this. Is it okay if I do all this stuff?" I'm like, why wasn't this communicated ahead of time? And so, well, it is. It's in the calendar. Like, look in the calendar. There is a single event in the calendar with no details. So technically, she did what she was supposed to do, but the intent and the purpose was not fulfilled. The purpose
Correct.
was to make sure that we weren't doing anything else and that we had time to coordinate things. What if there was another event going on? What if,
If I can add,
yeah,
the purpose is to get you on board,
yep.
not to just relay some words.
Yeah, well, like I'm coordinating, 6, 7 schedules, trying to make sure everybody can get to soccer practices, get homework done, and do everything in the evenings, cook dinner, and I got to know when is the 20-minute segment that I can fit this in. Last Thursday it was a last minute call again, like, "Hey, I'm going to do this after school instead." I'm like, "Well, I can't give you a ride. I can't like coordinate any of this stuff. Like I have to do all these other things," and she just wasn't buying into it. And I'm like, how do I communicate that? And so as a parent, nothing teaches you that you need to be better at communication, not on your
No,
terms, but
no.
on their terms, than having a teenager.
Right.
Because technically, like they love living on the cuff. They love living in the heat of the moment. And because they're young, they haven't had to plan out years before. It's not something normative for them. And so, but me,
Agreed.
I'm a planner, I'm a strategist. You give me a problem, I will solve it. You put me in the middle of a room with a bunch of people that I need to get to know. By the end of the night, I'll be
Agreed.
socializing and networking. It's something I naturally do, and I've cultivated that over time. Teenagers have not started doing that yet. They just know how
Well,
to react in the moment. They know how to parrot really well,
yes,
but then also I
without
just want to do this
processing.
one thing. Why is that so hard? Like, well, because it's more complicated than that in your
You
view.
live in a system.
Small. And so as a parent, I had to figure out how to take that small little narrow view and explain a larger picture, but in their context. If I explain, here are the 600 things I'm balancing right now, their brain turns off. It's too much. But I explained it to them. I gave them the words. Why didn't they listen? So I have to narrow it down to, look, I need to know 24 hours in advance where you need to be, what you need to do, and I need you to ask permission so that I can say, yes, we can do that, or no, and here's why. And that way, in the moment, you're not letting people down. And I, as your parent, are going to make sure this thing happens. And so now you've got me on board, but if I don't communicate to them why this is important, they'll get off on a technicality. Technically, I did what you asked me to, but did you
Right.
fulfill the intent?
I want to stay with that. If you don't communicate why it's important, I want to push a little bit on that. Some people refer to the work that Eric and I do as disruptive thinking because we take normal thought and we just shake it up a little bit. You want to communicate to her, why it's important. That communication cannot be a text message or a paragraph or a reading of poetry. It needs to be engaging her so that she can describe why it's important, not you. The goal is for the message to be received, not to be delivered. The goal is for the egg to be firmly grasped, not for you to throw it. And so we get there by using words that do never end in yes, no questions. So here's why this is important for me. Do you get it? Yes. Then no understanding has been occurred. The word yes and sure. And I want to offer this to you. And if we ever get to play in a public workshop, one of my favorite ways of getting people to go is by saying, from this moment in your life forward, whenever you hear the word yes or sure, I want you to see in neon lights on people's foreheads the letters SHIT, because that's all you've got when you've got a sure. You have a polite nod that I think I know what you mean, but I'm not sure, but I'm not going to ask you because it'll make the conversation longer. And I want to get out of the conversation.
I like
So
to
sure,
ask, I like
please.
to ask the question of what is the actionable item from what we just discussed.
Yes.
So at
What
the
will
end of a
you do the
meeting,
next
I
time
actually have
differently now that you?
at the
I'm
end of a
sorry, cut
meeting,
you
I
off.
have a section that says, what are the action items? And there's even an Eisenhower matrix right next to it. So you can prioritize the action. And, someday I'm going to put a little like widget in it that records every time somebody
That's it.
opens up that thing and says, oh, I looked at the Eisenhower matrix and I wrote down the action items based upon what my client said. And I have a
Yeah.
fear that most people just minimize that end of my strategy, because that I'm telling you, people out there
That's
who are
important.
my members and
Yes.
have seen that in my strategy guide, that is the most important part of your
Yes,
QBR
it is.
is,
It is.
what did your client say your action item is? Did you apply the Eisenhower matrix to it? Did you write it down? Simple.
The beauty for me right now is that you got there without me. Lots of people can. I want to offer you, though, from communication science, that you're asking a question apart from the framework of Eisenhower matrix that involves using the information that was just provided to make sense of it. And so a similar question to your daughter might be, I'm not trying to pick on your daughter, but might be,
No,
so now that you
pick away.
understand this, what will you do differently the next time? We want to get people talking about the application of the words, and that's how we know meaning was processed.
Let's say, what I'll do next time is the shock collars I hear are very effective on teenagers. Oh, what she'll do
Sorry.
that for next time. Yeah, like, I need to know. Otherwise, I'm going to start saying no before you even ask, so that you
Or
have the
give you a 12-hour
pain
cutoff.
to change. And I think my wife's the one who originally introduced me to the phrase, the pain of change. No, the pain of staying the same has to override the pain of change.
I
And
like that.
the idea being is that if you want to be a better communicator, you're going to have to change how you communicate and your style. But if everything's just working right now, why would you change your conversation? So like,
It's
if
not
things are just
working.
working out for you, why would you change? So with my daughter, like, are you getting to do the things you want to, or have you missed a bunch of things in the past that you wish you could have done?
Right.
We can fix that if you could
Agreed.
be better at saying, hey, dad, I really want to be able to do these things throughout the school year. And I'm a long-term thinker. I will
Right.
make sure that we get those things done. Now, if you want it planned and you want to exactly ensure that it gets done, do not ask your father, ask your mother. She's the planner. She is the mastermind behind scheduling. And like you
Beautiful.
say, in January 22nd of 2023, we need to go on a picnic and we need to have a bag of chips with us because it'll impress this guy I really like. Andrew will make sure that that thing happens on that day. Adam Walter will be like, okay, cool. We need to be somewhere on the 22nd of January. We'll figure it out then.
Yeah.
So,
I
knowing who you're communicating with and what
right.
you want to get done
And what they need.
helps so that my daughter can know which parent does she need to tap as a resource.
That's true. That's true.
Who's the relationship person? Probably me, because I spend a lot more time networking and I have a lot more to lose. And so I've referred a lot of that to me. But in empathy, that's my wife. She spends a lot of time listening to people and trying to figure out how to make this complex situation with their health into something they can handle and action off of. So we have our different strengths. And, when it comes to
Makes
your
the team.
clients, they do the same thing. There are a lot of things your clients are amazing at that you can tap
Right.
if you just take the time to learn. One of my litmus tests
Absolutely.
on this, like, so we've been swapping stories on analogies,
Yes.
is if you want an aha moment of whether or not you understand your spouse or your kids,
All right.
it's a simple way to understand. Can you fold and put away their clothes the way they want them to be put away?
Yes. Yes.
Anybody who's been married
Beautiful.
understands for some reason women have a distinct way of folding their clothes and hanging them in their closets or not hanging in their closets or which drawer they go in. Most guys I know, unless you're a suit person, you know, they're okay. There's a shelf over here and there's a drawer over here. This is for my socks and underwear, and this is for my shirts I needed to wear to the gym, and everything else gets hung up. Is it in order? No. I found the first open hanger. Now, over the last since 2004, I've been married, and I have learned that my wife has a not only a color coding to her closet, but there is this is the business section, this is the casual section, and this is the rack for pants. This is
Yes.
the rack for leggings. This is the drawer for pajamas. This is the drawer for workout clothes. Not only that, but there are certain ways she likes to have clothes folded. I like to fold my socks. She likes to layer them on top of each other. And this is something you learn in a relationship. And
If you care.
in a client relationship, what
Yeah.
are those things? Like if you were to buy a present for your key stakeholder at your biggest client today, what would you get them? Would you get them a piece of technology or would you get them a gift card to their favorite restaurant?
We have both been talking about ways of making sure we're understood by checking in with the client instead of repeating our scripts in a variety of different ways. I love that. And I resonate with your story because my wife taught me how to fold my t-shirts. I fold them her way now. Just
Yeah.
it works. It works. It was better. I want to give you one more thing opening from what you said, where you say XYZ and your daughter says, but technically you said this before. And then we wind up going back. I want to suggest to you that a great process for improving and making conversation more positive is by trying to keep the conversation in the present,
Hmm.
literally in the present. So when you come back to me, and I want you to do this, I want to say, Sean, that's not what you said 5 minutes ago. Just say those words and I'll show you how I want to say it.
Sean, you didn't say it 5 minutes ago.
You're right. You're right. I wasn't clear, but now I'm clear. Right now, my interest is this. This is what I mean. I'm not going to defend what I said 5 minutes ago that you attach a different meaning to what I said about. I'm not going to argue about yesterday or even 10 minutes ago. I'm going to bring it present and say, yeah, I mean, I didn't say it well. Everything I say is rough draft. That's just a good example. So what I mean is this is what's important to me. And I hope I'm finding the right words now. Let's talk about this. So anything that throws back is usually somebody, keeping score to try and get points, on the witness stand. But if we make it present, we then have more success in the conversation to keep it focused on what we're trying to accomplish with the other person. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I have a lot of communication with people who have English as a second language.
Yes.
And what you just said is absolutely paramount because in American English, we have a lot of colloquialisms. We love to make weird phrases, and we just assume that everybody understands these phrases too.
Yes.
And so when you're talking to somebody who has English as a second language, they're not familiar with all the same things. And so they'll be like, well, I thought you meant this. Like, no, I'm sorry. I was an idiot back then. I get where we're missing. Here's my intent. I want
Here
to get
is
us
my
here. So
intent.
I've learned to say this is my destination
Yes.
rather than this is
Yes.
what I mean. I want to
I'm
be here at the end of the day. How do we get there? And then we both are working together saying, okay, the thing I need in 3
But
weeks,
yesterday you said this.
and I was wrong.
Right. And now we're
The
back in
idiot
the
back
present.
then. We have learned
We've
more
learned a lot since
today.
then.
And I'm working on a development process right now, and I just had this conversation this morning. He's like, "Well, you said you wanted this." I'm like, "Yes, I was wrong. You've shown me a better way. I like the way you're going instead. If that means
Right.
we need to change the project scope, then let's do it if we can." And then we
Yes.
change that conversation like, well, what I meant was, no, today, here's where I'm trying to go.
What I mean is,
I need to have a dashboard that allows me to take actionable items with my clients. In fact, that was
yes,
my whole conversation this morning. It's like I'm trying to create a dashboard that allows me to create financial decisions and discussion points with my client. Has to be actionable. Every single piece of data on this dashboard has to be actionable. If it's not actionable, it's noise. And so we discovered one of those this morning. Like, what's that dotted line there? Well, it's an average. Well, what is that allowing me to discuss? What's allowing me to say together? How are we?
right.
I'm sitting with my client. We're both looking at the same dotted line. Is it leading us to a conclusion or an action item? Well, no. It's pretty though. Yes, it is pretty. It's a great red line. I love the line. I love how it flows and goes up and
Yeah,
down,
it's
but it
so
means
cute.
nothing.
Yes.
And so we kicked it out. We got rid of it because it didn't have an actionable point. And
Agreed.
we see that a lot in PowerPoints. We see that a lot in business presentations, these QBRs. How many meetings have my listeners been in the past, in their entire lives, or just in the past 2 months, that you sat there and thought, what is the point of this? Like, look at the data on the slide. Are you learning
Right.
anything? Can you take an actionable item from this? When they're talking to you, are you becoming a better person? Are you going to change your behavior? Are you
Right.
going to change your client's behavior? Are you growing? If not,
That's it.
what's the point?
If not, what is it? What has been accomplished? What has changed? What is better? Just throwing words back and forth is not what I'll call healthy communication.
Yeah, yeah. Verbal ping pong does not work. The idea of responding to each other and learning about the other person. I love that. I love what you're saying there. I love how you've given us great illustrations on what that means rather than giving a prescription of how to accomplish it. And
Right.
I think I'm hoping that you listeners are taking this away, is that we didn't give you a prescription. We didn't give you a process. What Sean's giving you is, look at how you're treating people and change. And you know you've changed when you can now do an action off of what they're saying, or
Absolutely.
they're doing an action based off of what you're saying. And I think that's a great way to change relationships for the better. And I'm telling you, like, as a business owner, like, you'll sell more. You'll have more sticky clients. You'll have more meaningful relationships. And as a bonus, you'll be happier. You'll enjoy talking to your clients because this is now somebody you have a relationship with. It's not somebody
There,
you're selling to. This
there
is
are
another
time for it.
person that you have a genuine relationship with, that you care about. Maybe you have some restaurants in common. Maybe you have some. Maybe you both love dogs. Who knows what it is? But now you have a genuine relationship, and then you can care for each other in that way. Anything to add, Sean?
I want to give you a concrete tech support story. A guy whose job it is to help physicians when their computers break was about to be fired. He was a genius at solving problems on computers, and his director asked me to work with him. And so we described what was going on. When he would walk into a physician's office who had a really slow computer, he would say, "I'm here to fix your computer." The doc would say, "Well, wait a few minutes. I'm almost done with this." The guy would swear at the physician, storm out of the room, and slam the door. He hated that the physicians were wasting his time. He was there to solve this problem, not watch him type 2 words a minute because it does not go on so fast. We met. The very first time he tried some of these, caring about the physician, caring about the physician's frustration, he went outside the room and he said he gently pounded his fist into the wall because he didn't want to do it in front of the doc, because he realized the doc had needs too. And the next time he went in, he asked the doc what the patient's problems were without revealing names, so you better understand the urgency of these needs. And he found out that once he knew that their work was important, he cared about them, he no longer got angry. It just went away because he cared about how the technical support helped them do their work for patients.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't being rude to him, they were frustrated because he couldn't do the job. None
Yep.
of it was personal. And so it's, in a way, it's an application story of all the things you've been talking about, and I've been talking about too. When we make those connections and build those relationships, then we care about getting through and becoming successful, not just doing our piece, doing our thing, and walking away.
Yeah, I can't tell you how relatable that story is. Like, I remember being a young technician. I came out of college and I knew exactly what needed to be done all the time. I was very good at solving problems.
Yes.
And it wasn't until I started empathizing with the people I was supporting that I started
Yes.
to truly enjoy my job. And
Great point.
because
Great point.
then I wasn't fixing a computer, I was helping a state patrol officer solve crimes.
Yes.
I wasn't, I was keep I was, keeping pedophiles, off the streets. I
Give me
was the
goosebumps. Yes.
support person, not the end. And I think in IT, somehow we've forgotten that. And I have this as my message all across the board. Somehow we have forgotten that we are here to augment people's jobs. And we're good at it. But when you start thinking my fixing of the computer is the number one priority, you're going to have a
Right.
bad day because it's
Yes.
about the relationship you're building. And it's about augmenting who's sitting at that piece of technology. And
Exactly.
how are you helping them serve their patients better, serve better coffee? I use dog kennels all the time, or be a better trucker, or whatever it is your client is doing. How are you
You
helping
also use
better at?
making tacos as an example a lot.
Yeah, tacos. The whole idea is empathize,
Yeah.
understand what action can you take to make them better. And that is when you're going to start leading into better technical work. And you're going to be seen as somebody who actually cares about their clients rather than somebody who's just really good at fixing really fast.
I do want to propose to you, that conscious communication is a choice.
Yes.
Being aware, being empathetic is a choice. We don't have to go there, and many of us don't. But once we choose to try, it opens the doors.
It gets easier too.
Yes.
I mean, I'm prime example, a grade A hole, right? And I will piss you off faster than anything else. But when I in my life started like asking questions, my
Yes.
ego started taking a back seat. I still have a fairly large ego, but it's useful in the right situations. But if I let that take over conversation, then I stop learning about the person across the table from me. And I consciously, a long time ago, started making the decision to ask questions, be curious. And it got easier over time to the point where now I do it. I don't think about it usually. I still have to
Yes.
practice active listening. I still have to practice some of those just basic skills because I will start rolling back into bad habits. But it's really great. And I can ask myself at the end of a meeting, a new person, what did I learn about them? What do I know about them now? What do they care about? How can I get on the same page with them? And
That
that's
one
how
word, just
it's rewarding. But you
being
have to
curious.
choose that. We started off as that
Channel
little
the curious.
6-year-old throwing a
Yes.
temper tantrum and being an absolute jerk. And over time, we choose empathy, and eventually it becomes a habit to be empathetic. And now
Yes.
you are doing this unconsciously. Every one of us started off as a child who was completely self-centered. And you can choose to grow out of
We're
that,
born to be. Yes.
or you can choose to stay a child. And we all see those people and they just never learn to grow.
That's right.
Well, I thank you for coming on, Sean, and I really hope that people got a lot out of this. This has been a fantastic conversation, and for me, like I am going to take this, I'm going to put it into a blog, and put in some social media posts. I'm going to try to emphasize the idea that we did not sell a process; we shared a
Correct.
mindset that people need to change. And that's going to be my takeaway from this, so that when people see this blog, when they see these social posts, when they see the videos online, they're going to see like, how do you have better conversations? How do you empathize? And how do you listen? Sean, do you have any like resources,
Right.
like a website people can go to learn more about your book or?
Well, if people go to stopwastingwords.com, they'll
Stop
see the whole
wasting words.
book and stopwastingwords.com. Very simple. We love it. That's what our publisher recommended as the call sign for our book and our work. Also, interestingly, I've been doing this for so long. If you just Google Sean E. Mahar, last time I checked, I own 3 pages of Google with just my name.
Awesome.
Now, if you type in conscious communication, there's thousands of people who do that. If you type my name, Sean E. Mahar, you get 3 pages of me. I've got videos out. In fact, I took the whole hour video I did for the company in Portugal, and we posted that on YouTube. So I've got a lot of public space out there. And plus, people can write me. Sean Mahar at AOL.com. And they'll find me, or they can find me through the website. I'm easy to get hold of.
Changing conversations is key to your business, people. Learn from guys like Sean. You can spend all day improving your processes and being a better technician, but that's chasing pennies. If you want to chase the real relationships, you want to chase real great selling tools, learn from somebody like Sean. Learn to be a better communicator and a genuine communicator. Don't do a trick. Don't change because this top book said, here are the 6 words you need to say to close a deal. No, just learn to be a better communicator. It'll help every aspect of your life, from sales to how to talk to your kids. So
absolutely.
Thanks, Sean, for coming on. We'll put all the links in the below the video here, and we'll have you on again sometime. So thank you very much.
It's been a sincere pleasure. Thank you very much. It's good to get to know you better.
All right. Thank you.
The ultimate MSP podcast crossover.
Hey folks, this is Praveen from superops.ai. I'm super excited to be part of this ultimate MSP podcast crossover event happening in September. And as part of this, I wanted to share the one piece of advice that I have followed being part of a startup and in my personal life as well. We grossly overestimate what we can do in the short term and highly underestimate what we can do in the long term. And when I say short term, it's like 6 months, 1 year. And when I say long term, it's 5 years, 10 years, right? So it's these unsexy little things, the boring tasks done with deliberate practice and deliberate improvement over time that ensures that your results start compounding and leads to massive success. I think as humans and as businesses, we grossly underestimate the power of compounding. And once I realized that and someone gave me this advice, my life changed forever.